There's
Well,
echo coming.
pharmaceutical advancements have been extremely critical on this planet over the last 3,000 years. More so in the last century, the pharma industry has made huge advancements and improvements in the lives of us, the humans, by a huge degree. Today, India has become the pharmacy of the world. We want to become a global supply chain hub for pharmaceuticals, and not only that for the advanced markets, but also for the emerging nations and the rest of the world. Our exports, ladies and gentlemen, include bulk drugs, intermediates, drug formulations, biologicals, herbal products, surgical, and much more. The COVID pandemic has locked down the whole world. Most industries across the world have come to a grinding halt. Even in these testing times, the pharma industry and the healthcare systems of the world continue to show their mental and physical steel to fight this pandemic.
And being in the pharma industry, we have had our share of challenges, even though we were categorized as an essential service provider. But the ground realities were different in terms of, having availability of freight forwarders, having availability of service providers inland, domestic, and of course, imports and exports were also heavily impacted. So the last 50 days or so, the 3 lockdown phases that India has been in, we as a generic pharmaceutical manufacturer have had a share of, concerns with respect to ensuring that we keep operations on, and B, connecting all the critical goods and material to the factory and from the factory to the customers. So on both ends, we've had tremendous challenges. Even though during the first week or 10 days, everything came to a grinding halt and then things started. But the on-ground realities were still difficult to manage, because even though special permissions were given to service providers to move their trucks and goods.
18th of March, we said there'll be a likely lockdown. We didn't know. We didn't have even time to prepare what we do, what we have to do, and how we have to do. And I share Vikram's concern, what he said, because imagine pharmaceuticals were manufactured, but there was no packing material, because packing material was not part of essential service. So then, you saw a lot of amendments coming from the circular from the government. I believe it has gone to something like all India basis, about 2,800 circulars have been issued by various governments and just last 30, 40, 50 days. So that's the level of improvisation happened. And I call it as an improvisation rather than thinking that it was confused state.
So what it has first done is that it has told that in collectivism there is a lot of strength. Markets being what they are, let them be in its own plane. But what I would call cooperative competition is something which is here to stay. Everybody has seen the benefit of cooperative competition. Several people who otherwise compete in the market actually coordinated for logistics. I mean, logistics is not the place where they are competing. And that is a major thing and a policy view which I think each one of you need to take forward and try to organize, looking as we unravel what I would call the COVID 4.0 opening up. This aspect is particularly important. I'm not going the way of what practically it has been done. That is more a matter of people like you who actually handle. But I can tell you at the policy level, the whole idea is to kickstart businesses, not just at this stage. I can tell you it's not just pharma businesses, but all other businesses as well, because it has been realized that a whole lot of industry is dependent on each other. I mean, it's not that pharma industry is a self-contained industry and doesn't require another thing. An anecdotal and a very, very simple point was drawn home by Tushar when he said that I started the pharma and suddenly find I had no packaging material, and it took us we all worked on it, and it took us almost a week to get the packaging industry started and getting them as part and as affiliated unit.
When this whole thing started in March, 21st or 22nd, there was a complete
jam, all over. At the airports, there was no flight going, no staff coming. But I think after 1 week or so, as Mr. Sivasailam has told, that there were committees which were formed, and finally it was the pharma goods which started coming, imports as well as little bit of exports. But with the cooperation of everyone, the terminal operators, the government, wherever we had problems, whether it was from the transporters to bring the cargo to the airport or to take deliveries from the airport, we all came together. And I think everybody, when they worked together, we reached to some conclusion, and the goods started moving to and from the airports. The stuff started moving, the trucks started moving. And I tell you, even among ourselves as the freight forwarders, we all came together. If one of us was having problem at some place, they were talking to other people and trying to solve the issues. Not only for our own business, but even if the shipper is facing any problem, if he doesn't got the bill of lading, or the bill of lading is stuck at the courier things, we all came out and we approached Mr. Srivastava and said, "Sir, this is a problem." And I must tell you that even at 10 o'clock in the night, he used to call these companies and make sure that these things are done. So it's the joint efforts which were done, and everything started moving smoothly. And today, after 1 month, I think, as Tushar said, 40% things have started moving, from the airports, whether it's imports or exports. It's all the joint efforts of everyone, not only by the freight forwarders, but even the shippers cooperated, the terminal operators cooperated, the transporters cooperated, the government cooperated, and everyone in the supply chain, they cooperated, and they all came together.
Yeah, compared to a lot of people, for us, one big advantage happened is that we've learned a lot from our China colleagues who had already gone through this pandemic. And so that learning first was the most important thing that we could, implement immediately as an organization. What we did was we created more of hub and scopes to get into the nearest and available hubs, and then from that we managed to connect through our offices. So that's how we managed the capacity initially. See that more airlines started to operate, and we could get additional capacities. And then we went back to our original model. We also did a few charters to some key sectors where we had sufficient traffic to optimize.
I just want to bring one element here. And, some of you know who are part of the government group my take on Air India. Air India is the only your lifeline. If you want to survive in this industry, take it from me. With 26 wide-body aircraft, Air India can make that magic to all of us. And Maharaja has just woke up. You've seen with this relief flight, they're taking cargo outward full, they're bringing cargo inward full. Mark my words, if I was a forwarder, I would forge my partnership with Air India right now.
In fact, you won't believe, in the last 1 week, we've spent a good amount of time internally, discussing and debating about the subject with our team. Today we are heavily reliant on the road. I mean, if we talk about our group and overall logistics in the country, we are, moving a lot of cargo on the road, and railways was, there, but we never took it properly, to the considering the potential, we never took it that way, that we could really build it. But in this scenario where ultimately there are challenges on the roadside, in terms of reaching the transit times. What is essence is basically the collaboration with railway will at least take care of the transit part of it, where somewhere the road or the surface industry would face a challenge because of obviously reasons of consolidation and hub and spoke movement. So definitely, I think a collaborative approach is something which we are already considering, and I think that is the future. Not all parts of the country will be ever kitni gadiyan chala lenge. There is internally we are saying how many kilometers will we be able to run the trucks, and how much will that efficiency be for the country and for the nation when it comes to logistics.